All right, let's talk about something that trips up so many people in English. Three tiny little words that cause some major headaches. I'm talking about was, did, and had. If you've ever felt like choosing the right one is just a total guessing game, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to solve this right here, right now.
You know that feeling, right? You're trying to tell a story about something that happened, and your brain just stalls. Should it be was or did, maybe had? It can feel like you're playing the lottery with your words, just hoping you land on the right one. Well, I promise you, by the end of this, that lottery is officially over. Take a look at this sentence on the screen. This is probably one of the most common mistakes out there. And you know what? It makes sense why people say it. But it's wrong. And in the next few minutes, you're going to know exactly why it's wrong. Not because you memorized a bunch of boring grammar lists, but because you're going to understand one simple, powerful idea.
That's right. We're going to forget all those complicated rules for a minute. Instead, I want you to think about it like a company. See, the English past tense is run by three different grammar bosses. Your only job is to figure out which boss is in charge of what you're trying to say. If you can do that, the rest of the grammar just falls into place. It's that simple. So here's our game plan. We'll quickly touch on the problem, and then we're going to meet our three bosses. The action boss, did. The description boss, was and were. And the timeline boss, had. And then we'll get to the most important part of all, the one boss rule. All right, let's dive in. First up, we've got the action boss, DID. This is the boss of actually doing stuff. So the job for did is crystal clear. It handles all the questions and the negatives for past tense actions. Just think of any verb that involves doing something. You know, running, eating, watching, going, working. Did is the one in charge of all of them. And this right here is the most important part. When the boss, did or didn't, shows up in the sentence, the employee, that's the main verb, gets to relax. It just stays in its simple, basic form. See? The boss does all the heavy lifting of showing it's the past. You don't need two past tense words. So it's never did you went? Nope, it's did you go. The boss is there, so the verb stays simple. Easy, right? Okay, on to boss number 2. Meet the description boss, was and were. This boss takes care of pretty much everything that isn't an action. So the job of was and were is to handle all the descriptions. They don't mess with actions like running or eating. Nope. Their whole world is about describing how things were. Think of them as the boss of feelings, of places, of, well, descriptions. Think about it like this. If you're talking about feelings, I was happy. A location, they were at the park. A description, it was a sunny day. Or just a state of being, she was tired. You notice what all of these have in common? None of them have a main action verb. Now let's put them side by side, because this is where it all clicks. Look at that first line. We're asking about the same idea, but in two different ways. Did you feel tired? That's asking about the action of feeling. But were you tired? That's asking about the state you were in. Same thing on the next line. Did he go home? Is about the action of movement. Was he home? Is about his location, his state of being. See? Two different questions, two different bosses in charge. And that brings us to our third and final boss. This one is a specialist. Meet HAD. The timeline boss. Okay, so had has two main jobs. The first one is super easy, just simple possession. I had a car. Done. But its second job, this is where it gets really powerful. It manages the timeline. It's a signal that an action happened before another past action. You can think of had as the boss of the earlier past. It's basically like time travel for your sentence. Just look at this example. We've got two things that happened in the past: finishing homework and mom calling. So which one happened first? The homework got finished first, right? So that earlier action gets the timeline boss had. I had finished my homework before my mom called. Had is like a little flag telling your listener, hey, listen up, this part I'm talking about, it happened first. Okay, so we've met all three bosses. We know what they do. Now it's time for the single most important rule of all. Seriously, this is the one that's going to stop 99% of your mistakes and tie everything we've just learned together. This is it. This is the master key. You can only have one boss per clause or simple sentence. That's it. You can't have the action boss, did, and the description boss, was, trying to run the same show. It doesn't work. They've got their own departments, and they do not mix. When you break this rule, you end up with what I like to call a grammar crime. Just look at this first example. Did she was happy? Uh-oh, you've got the action boss did and the description boss was fighting for control. That's a big no-no. Since happy is the description boss is in charge. So it's just, was she happy? Simple. Same for the next one. I didn't was tired is mixing bosses. It should be, I wasn't tired. Always remember, one boss at a time. So let's actually put this all together now. How do these bosses work in a real, normal conversation without stepping on each other's toes? Let's imagine we're talking about a party. Okay, imagine you're asking a friend about a party they went to. If you want to ask about the action of dancing, you call in the action boss. Did you dance? If you want a description of the party, you need the description boss. Was the party fun? And if you want to ask about the timeline, the order of events, you bring in the timeline boss. Had you eaten before the party? You see, it's not a guess, it's a logical choice. Different questions need different bosses. So if someone asks you how your weekend was, you might say something like, "It was very busy. I did so many chores." Notice how that works. The first sentence uses the description boss, was, and the second sentence uses the action boss, did. They're working perfectly, each in their own separate sentence. No problem at all. Now let's say the conversation keeps going. Maybe they asked, "Did you paint the room?" You could say, "Yes, I did, but I had bought the wrong paint first." And there's our timeline boss had showing up to tell us that buying the paint happened before the painting even started. It just creates a super clear sequence of events. So let's just summarize this one last time. Nice and simple. For a past action, your boss is did. For a description, a feeling, or a state of being, your boss is was or were. And for a timeline to show an earlier past event, your boss is had. And what's the golden rule that holds it all together? You got it. Only one boss per sentence. So the next time you go to talk about the past, don't guess. Just pause for a tiny little microsecond and ask yourself, am I talking about an action, a description, or a timeline? Choose your boss and then speak with total confidence. The guessing game is officially over. So which boss are you going to use first?